Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about The Rental, which came out in 2020. This is actually Dave Franco's directorial debut. You may know him from 21 Jump Street. I believe that's the only movie I can think of off the top of my head that he has been in. I'm sure there's plenty of other movies that he's been in. No disrespect or anything like that. I don't really follow Dave Franco because I feel like his older brother James Franco really sort of takes the spotlight. But for a directorial debut, this movie is actually fairly well done. So this movie stars. Let me just back up one page here so I can show you the full cast of people because I feel like it's a pretty strong cast. So we have Dan Stevens, Allison Brie, Sheila Vand, and Jeremy Allen White. The one person that I really recognize the most would be either Dan Stevens or Jeremy Allen White, and that's mainly because Dan Stevens was in The Guest in, I'm trying to think here, 2016, around that time, 2018, which was another horror movie, and then Jeremy Allen White is in Shameless, which, if you haven't seen that show, I would suggest you watch it because it's a good show. But yeah, so let's get right into what this movie is about. So this movie is about two couples decide that they want to basically have a getaway for the weekend, and the two couples decide that they're going to go to a rental home, which is, I guess you could consider it an Airbnb, uh, as far as modern times go, and they just want to get away. But the main reason is because Charlie and I forgot this girl's name. I'm sorry if I forget their names, but Charlie and these two are partners at their job, and they are celebrating something. I think they're supposed to be taking another or a big step in their careers as far as their work goes. So these two are couples, and these two are couples, and then the two guys are brothers. And with this movie, they sort of go along the lines of this is sort of the smart brother, and this is the brother that has been in trouble, has dropped out of college, but you can tell he's uh, making an effort and trying to better himself, which is really good. And one thing about that is that they don't really drag that and show that too much. It gets brought up, I'd say, twice for a minute or so each time it gets brought up, but for the most part, they try and stay away from that sort of, I guess you could say, trope in movies that a lot of movies have, which is good. Um, so they decide that they want to get away, so they go up to this huge home and they like it a lot, and they decide, let's just relax, kick back, have a good time. Let's not, worry about too much. And so they do. And when they arrive, they meet this guy right here. So he is the, I guess you could say, caretaker of the home. He says that the home belongs to his brother, but he's the one who takes care of it because his brother is sort of, not around all the time, which sort of foreshadows that, he is, I guess you could say, the, in quotation, sort of troubled type brother, and then his brother is the one that is more responsible, which is sort of, you know, it's got parallels to it. But you soon start to realize that this guy is not the nicest guy. So I'm not going to go into much detail. I'm not going to do any spoilers with this review because I want to make sure that Um, I don't want to spoil it. I would like for people to see this movie for what it is, because I would say it's a really solid horror movie. Especially coming from Dave Franco. I was pleasantly surprised at how good he did as far as a horror movie, because or no, not yeah, Dave Franco. Because Dave Franco is more known for comedy or comedy action type movies. He's not known for the horror, and it seems like a lot of these comedy driven actors that direct horror movies have done a good job. That goes for Jordan Peele and Danny McBride. Jordan Peele did Get Out and Us, and Danny McBride did the latest reboot of Halloween in 2018, and he's also doing Halloween Kills, and I think Halloween Ends as well. They're making that a trilogy. But to go back on to The Rental, there's not a whole lot that really bothers me about this movie, because Dave Franco does such a good job with his direction. It's a very, very tight start to finish movie. It's, I believe, I think it's like an hour and a half, so it's a very tight movie. And I feel like Dave Franco could, if he wanted to, made this movie an hour and 45, maybe up to an hour and 50 minutes long, and it would still, I would say, hold up to expectations. A lot of horror movies nowadays, they try and go for the jump scares and, stuff like that, and it's a really cheap effect. But when it comes to this movie, there are jump scares, but they're used in such a way that when it happens, there's consequence to the jump scares that happen in this movie. It's not like just something, like a cat, scaring you, or a dog, popping up out of nowhere. It's something that when it happens, something is going to happen to this character. The acting in this movie, I would say for the most part, is really well done. There are scenes where it could be a little more like, you could say toned down, or I wouldn't say toned down, but just shortened up in general, because this movie is very dialogue heavy. It's not one of those horror movies that relies on the scare factor or anything like that. It's a horror movie that is very dialogue heavy, and for a lot of people, it can become very boring. I noticed there was one long take, and I don't know if maybe I looked away and it cut, but there seems to be some good long takes in this movie that make it, really good. And like I said, it's very surprising for me to watch this movie and come out of it, thinking, wow, that wasn't bad. So Dave Franco suggested, and he said that he got the idea of this movie over discomfort at Airbnb rentals. He said that, or he's like presuming that, Airbnbs, it's somebody's own home, so you don't know what's really, going on when the owner isn't around. But one last thing I want to add in to this review that really drives it home is it's considered a horror movie, but I would also put it under a horror / psychological thriller, because I guess you could say, person in charge of things that are going on throughout this movie. I'm being very, very vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but the person who's in charge of certain things that happen in this movie, they're not things that are physical. They're things that are very, very mental instead. He really takes his time, and throughout the movie, you realize, like, towards the beginning, these people are really happy. They want to, go on their vacation and have, a good time and, just, basically escape the reality of the city and the world and just, relax. And then at the end of the movie, I'd say towards the beginning of like the third act, or like the end of the second act, you start to realize that these people are getting broken down in every way, shape, or form, and it's all mental. It's not physical whatsoever, which I thought was really, really well done. So for this movie, I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which I feel like that's very, very generous. I'd say I will give this movie a 3.5 to, I'd say between 3.5 and 4. It's really hard for me to decide, but like I said, 4 is very, very generous. But I suggest you guys watch this movie. It's one of those movies, like I said, it's very, very good. It's very tight. It's one of those movies where you can sit down and enjoy it and, really escape into this movie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review that I did for The Rental. I've got Patreon, and I've got Twitter. All my social medias will be linked down below in the description. I really appreciate any of the support you guys have. I've been noticing more and more support on these videos, which is making me very happy, and it's motivating me to make more of these. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.